Buried under a hill in China, King Shi Huang's tomb has been sealed for over 2,000 years. Story goes there are deadly traps and a curse. In 2024, archaeologists scanning Petra's famous treasury found a hidden burial chamber with 12 stone coffins. And in Turkey, workers accidentally discovered a huge underground city. These are hidden rooms found inside famous ancient monuments. Everyone knows about the Terracotta Army, but what most people don't realize is that the actual tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, has never been opened. It's still sealed underground near Xi'an, untouched for over 2,000 years. Researchers have used ground-penetrating radar and other scanning technology, and what they've found underneath is pretty wild. There's a whole underground complex down there. Multiple chambers, huge walls. Some ancient records say the tomb has rivers of mercury and a ceiling made to look like the night sky, complete with constellations. And that mercury thing isn't just legend. Scientists tested the soil above the tomb and found abnormally high levels of it, which lines up with those old descriptions. The Chinese government has been super cautious about excavating it, partly because they're worried about damaging what's inside, and on top of that, there's supposedly a curse, and it's said to be booby-trapped. So for now, it just sits there, sealed, toxic, and possibly holding one of the most elaborate ancient tombs ever built. You've definitely seen Petra's Treasury. It's that iconic rock-cut temple everyone posts from Maggiore, but in 2024, archaeologists scanned beneath it and found something. A hidden crypt carved deep underground. It was a full-blown burial chamber with 12 stone sarcophagi, and they were completely untouched, sealed for nearly 2,000 years. The crypt is believed to date back to the 1st century, which lines up with Petra's golden age under the Nabateans. Those are the same people who carved the entire city into the cliffs. What makes this discovery a really big deal is how little we actually know about Nabatean burial practices. They didn't leave behind many texts or records, so finding a sealed crypt like this is basically an archaeological jackpot. The sarcophagi were all laid out methodically, and the chamber was clearly built with intention, possibly for high-ranking nobles or royalty. It's still being studied, but this single chamber has already changed how archaeologists look at Petra. Turns out the most photographed part of the site had a secret sitting right under it the entire time. This one was hiding in plain sight too. In 2020, workers in Matiate, Turkey were doing a basic restoration job when they accidentally knocked through a wall and noticed that there was a tunnel, and that tunnel led to a massive underground city. They call it Matiate, and it's huge. So far, archaeologists have found 49 rooms carved into the limestone, and that's just the part they've explored. The whole complex spans at least a kilometer, and they think it may have housed up to 70,000 people. That's not just a few hideouts. This was a city beneath the city. Some of the rooms have Christian markings, others suggest Jewish or possibly even older pagan ones, which means this place was used for a long time across different periods. It was probably used as a hideout during invasions, especially during the Roman era when Christianity was illegal. The fact that this was just sitting there under a modern city is mind-blowing though, and even now, they've only excavated a portion of it. There's probably way more still hidden deeper inside. Byblos in Lebanon is one of the oldest cities on Earth, and under the surface it's got some wild stuff going on. Beneath what used to be the main temple site in the city, archaeologists found an underground burial site with a bunch of vertical shaft tombs cut straight into the rock. They were carved shafts that dropped down into burial chambers used by the elite during the Bronze Age. There are at least 9 of these things, and a lot of them are packed with goods like gold, jewelry, and weapons, artifacts that look like they've been imported, which just shows how connected these rulers were to other civilizations. Some of the tombs look kinda Egyptian, like they were copying the style. Makes sense. Byblos and Egypt were tight for centuries, trading all kinds of goods. Teotihuacan's already mysterious enough, no one even knows who built it, but in 2017, archaeologists found a tunnel hidden under the Pyramid of the Moon. It's about 30 feet below the surface and stretches out towards the center of the pyramid's base. Inside they found offerings like obsidian blades, jade, animal bones, and there were traces of liquid mercury, which is super strange since mercury wasn't exactly easy to get. Some of the chambers are laid out to match the same pattern as the streets and buildings above, almost like a mini version of the city. That's why some archaeologists think the tunnel might have been meant to represent the underworld version of Teotihuacan, like a mirror of the world above, kind of like the Upside Down in Stranger Things. The ancient people who built this place were clearly obsessed with death, rebirth, and the cosmos, and this tunnel fits fits right into that theme. Back in 2014, archaeologists in northern Greece discovered a massive tomb near what used to be the ancient city of Amphipolis, and it immediately had people wondering if it might be connected to Alexander the Great. The place is enormous, way bigger than typical tombs from that time. The whole thing's buried under this huge hill made of earth and stone built up into a perfect circle. There's a long entrance with sphinxes guarding it and a set of chambers inside that have been completely sealed off. Inside they've found statues, fancy tiled floors, and a main burial chamber with bones. No one's totally sure who they belong to. Some think it could have been a general from Alexander's army or someone in his family. The whole layout is high status. The kind of detail in the decorations isn't something you'd find in just any grave. Also interesting is how the tomb was designed to keep people out. Layers of walls, hidden chambers, everything closed up really tight. Whoever was buried here was either really important or someone was trying to keep something secret. They're still digging through it, and everyone's hoping they'll find some clue as to who's actually buried there. The Porta Maggiore Basilica is hidden underground in Rome. It wasn't discovered until 1917, totally by accident. Workers were building a train line when they cracked into the roof of what looked like a big open space. It turns out it was an underground basilica from around the 1st century BCE. But it wasn't a church, it was more like a private gathering place for people who followed what looked like some pretty unusual beliefs. The walls are covered in weird plaster carvings of scenes that didn't really fit with mainstream Roman religion at the time. Researchers think a group called the Neo-Pythagoreans used this place. They believe in stuff like the soul living on forever, cleansing rituals, and secret meanings in numbers. The Romans didn't like them very much, so it makes sense they had to meet underground. It's still closed to the public most of the time, which makes it even more mysterious. Can't see it unless you know exactly where to look. The ancient city of Mari, in what's now Syria, was already impressive with huge palaces, fancy irrigation, and temples everywhere. But in the 1930s, archaeologists found a sealed-off archive room inside the royal palace packed with over 25,000 clay tablets. This was basically the ancient version of an office filing system from around 1800 BCE. The tablets were covered in cuneiform or suniform, one of the first writing systems ever. The room had been completely sealed off, probably to keep the records safe from invaders. It was pretty cool. Shelves were carved right into the walls, tablets were stacked by topic, and these weren't boring notes either. Some talk about dreams, warnings, military plans, some detailed strange rituals. Because of this find, historians learned way more about how Mesopotamians ran their society, what they believed and what day-to-day life was like back then. In the ruins of Dalia, a city built by the Harappan civilization around 4,000 years ago in India, archaeologists found 2 rooms with small openings in the ceiling that line up with the sun at certain times of the year. Some researchers think they were used as early observatories. Harappans didn't leave behind written records like some other ancient cultures, so finds like this are really important. The rooms are small, pretty bare, but the way they were built with the precise angles of the openings makes it pretty clear they were watching the sky. Maybe they used it to track the sun and stars so they knew when to farm or carry out their rituals. The Harappans were already known for being incredible city planners. They had perfectly aligned streets, had advanced water systems, so adding astronomy to the mix doesn't really seem like a stretch. In 2022, researchers scanning the jungle in India's Bangavar Tiger Reserve picked up a whole bunch of ancient Buddhist cave temples that had been hidden deep in the forest. They were using LiDAR, which is basically a tool that shoots lasers from the air to map out what's underneath thick forests and jungles. They found 26 caves carved into the rock. They had large arched ceilings, stone pillars, statues, shrines, and old inscriptions were all over the walls. The site sits in protected tiger territory, which is probably why they stayed hidden for so long. Based on the style and inscriptions, some of these caves date back as far as the 2nd century BCE. Others go all the way up to the 11th century CE, so that's over 1,000 years of monks carving and living out here, totally off-grid. This might just be the start. Archaeologists think there could be more caves nearby that haven't been mapped yet. Well, I've been your host, James. I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.